Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode, we are revisiting a topic that we talked about earlier this month, I believe. We talked about YouTube, and that podcast episode was mainly focused on the idea of why you should use YouTube. We talked a lot about the stats and facts of the platform, and we also talked a lot about how you can actually utilize it to create content. And we talked a lot about why you should be using it and how you can use it effectively. And on today's episode, what we are going to talk about is how you can make content specifically for that platform. I've done other episodes in the past where I encourage you and even teach you how to reuse content, how you can take a video from YouTube and turn it into a blog for Twitter, or like microblogs on Twitter, obviously, or, take screenshots for photos on Instagram. But on today's episode, I really want to talk to those marketers who really do want to strive to create individual pieces of content for every platform. I don't think you should always do this, nor do I think you should never do this. I think it definitely depends on the campaign, your strategy, and how often you use each platform and where your focus is. So this is just an option for you to really, really focus in and create content specifically for YouTube. Or if you already have the content for Instagram and you just want to know how to transform it into content for YouTube, then this is a really great resource for that as well. So for those of you that didn't listen to part one, where we talked about why you should be using YouTube, just to give you a bit of a refresher, although I do encourage you to go check out that entire podcast, I'm just going to give you some quick stats and facts about the platform. Number one being 8 out of 10 web users watch YouTube videos every single time they are on the internet. That means that no matter what, even if they are working on something else, they will go onto the platform to check out a video or maybe even just listen to music. Number 2, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, of course second to Google, and to me that makes a lot of sense because there have been plenty of times that I need to know how to make something or bake something or cook something or even needing to know how to braid my hair, and I'm not just going to Google that, I'm going to YouTube it because I understand that I'm going to get a video instructional guide for that. And 1 billion hours are being watched on YouTube every single day, if not more. It is a huge platform with a huge audience, and it is very easy to find your audience while you are on the platform. So if you're not convinced that YouTube is right for you, there's a chance it might not be. However, I do encourage you to go listen to the full episode, part 1 of YouTube marketing, just to test those waters and check it out for yourself. I love YouTube. It is my favorite platform. I am one of those 8 out of 10 web users that no matter what, if I open up my computer, it will lead to me going on YouTube no matter what. One, I love it as a huge waste of time. I love just relaxing, watching YouTube videos. I've watched YouTube videos for years and I followed specific YouTubers, and we'll talk about that on today's episode. And now I actually make YouTube videos. You can follow me. My name is Mackenzie Jaquish on YouTube. It is MackenZieJaquish. Subscribe if you want. There are some pretty cool videos on there. But I really love YouTube because I think it's such a great way to really create content that is specific to an idea or to a brand or to showcase a brand or an idea, because it's really the only platform left where you can create long form content. Because Instagram, everything has to be like under a minute if you're doing a video on there. TikTok, it's 30 seconds, and that's the future. So YouTube really is the last place where you can get away with making longer form content and more content that's more curated and took a lot of time to create. So I definitely think it takes a lot of time and attention to create the content on YouTube, which is why it really does get the credit it deserves. That's why people are able to make careers out of it and have their livelihood depend on the platform, because it does take a lot of time, effort, and energy to create content specifically for that platform. So let's start with step one, the first thing you need to consider when creating your YouTube video. Now, let me just stop everyone here in their tracks. If you're thinking step one is going to be me saying, turn on your camera and hit record. No, that is not really what this video is about. I am talking about how you can create content marketing for YouTube. If you want to know how to make a video, if you want to know how to make strong videos, or just create videos on your phone, again, I did a whole podcast episode on that. Go check it out. It's very simple to do. I don't want to underplay it at all because I love recording videos and it definitely does take a lot of time and energy and effort, but it's not hard to figure out and it's not hard to manipulate if you just want to make a basic video. So go check it out, guys. We are on episode like 86 of the podcast, if not 87. And I got to tell you, we've covered a lot of subjects here. So if you're ever thinking, hey, I wonder if she talked about that, definitely go check it out. There's a good chance I have. However, I am also always open to suggestions. So leave them in the review down below or feel free to reach out through social media. But step one, the first thing we're going to talk about is creating a title. Your title needs to be kept short and it should not exceed 60 characters. Now notice I said 60 characters and not 60 words or 60 letters. If you have an exclamation point, you have a comma, you have a space, count that. This is just a really great way to measure the length of a title and help keep you in a margin. Now, clickbait is real and it can work, but it is a dangerous road to walk along if you are giving your viewers false hope or you are promising something you can't deliver on. But that does not mean that you shouldn't use the idea of creating catchy content that you know people will be drawn to. Don't be shy of that. Don't feel like you have to pick a really simple title just because your video is very simple. Don't be afraid to be catchy or gimmicky or loud about it. If that's your brand or if that's something that you want, then don't be afraid, but just don't overpromise and then underdeliver with the title. Your title should be clear and descriptive. They should describe what the video is about. If you're making a video about your coffee company and you title the video My Favorite Mugs of the Day, unless you're really truly talking about your favorite mugs and you don't mention the coffee at all throughout the video, then that title's perfectly acceptable. But if the video is really about your coffee, how you grow the beans, how you harvest the beans, how you steep them in a different way, guys, I'm going to be honest. I use the coffee example a lot, and I actually don't know if you're like someone who makes coffee, like how you do that specifically. If anyone out there is a coffee entrepreneur, please reach out to me and I can be a little bit more specific with this example. But basically, if that's what your video's about, then give the video a title that has to do with that. Make it relevant and make it clear and make it descriptive. With the title, make sure you are telling your viewers why they should want to watch the video. Why is this going to be helpful for them? Why is this going to enhance their life? Why should they spend the next 2 to 5 minutes watching your video instead of watching someone else's video? Make sure you keep it short, descriptive, and use keyword phrases that address the overall theme, mood, and idea of the video. And make sure you choose a title which answers the most important question to your viewers, which is, what is this video about? So if you use all of those, your title of your video will definitely attract your audience in a positive way and hopefully give them a sneak peek of what the video is about without giving away the whole video, because that really is the aim of the title, is to attract but not distract. So I hope you're writing all that down, but don't worry because we will talk about that and more when we come back. I will be right back with more of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll see you in a few minutes.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you again. Black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on today's episode, we are talking about YouTube marketing. So this is sort of a part two, a sequel, if you will, but I like to consider it sort of like how the sequel to Grease 2 was a similar idea to Grease, but it was not a continuation of the story. Because although we are talking about YouTube, although we are talking about using YouTube and the platform as a marketing tool, part one of this podcast was really reasons why you should use YouTube as a marketing tool, some statistics about it, and some ideas around how to use it as a part of your strategy, where today's episode is really about how you can create content on YouTube and create your own YouTube channel as a part of your marketing strategy. Of course, that is always the game plan here, but this is really how to create content specifically for this platform. I am a huge fan of the YouTube platform. I talked about it already in part one, so I will not bore you. But basically, I have my own YouTube channel. You can go check me out, Mackenzie Jaquish on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Please follow. I would love to hear from you guys outside of the marketing podcast. I will warn you, my YouTube channel has nothing to do with marketing, but please feel free to go check it out. And if you'd like to hear more marketing content, then go check out the GSMC marketing YouTube channel. We post full-length episodes. We have a lot of people over there commenting on the videos and starting conversations over there. So let's continue this. I'd love to keep the conversation about marketing going and take it off of the podcast, because although I love this podcast and I have so much fun recording it, I don't get to have a conversation with you guys this way. It's a lot of me staring at my microphone, or me staring at my computer, or me staring at the desk that my microphone and computer sit on. So I really don't get to hear from you guys in this context. But once we take it offline, once we're on social media, I would love hearing your guys' thoughts on the episode, on future episodes, ideas. And guys, I take the opinions, I take your ideas, and I use them in future episodes. So do not be a stranger. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Again, that is GSMC Marketing Podcast. You'll find us everywhere. Very, very easy to find us if you just search for the GSMC Marketing Podcast. But for now, let's get back into today's episode. Before the break, we covered titles, and now we're on to the second most important thing when it comes to your video. Of course, this is without the actual video we are taking into place. The most important thing when it comes to your video content is the video. But we already did that. We already did that episode on how to create really great engaging videos. So go check that out on a different episode. This is about how to create great videos for YouTube. So the second most important thing to titles is your thumbnail. And I hope you have your pen and paper out, because I'm going to throw out some video sizes and some image sizes for you so that you know what size your thumbnail needs to be. It needs to be 1280 by 720 or 1920 by 1080. Smaller sizes often look blurry and distorted, and bigger sizes will not fit on the screen and will get cropped out. So whenever you go to make your thumbnail, which I highly recommend you make a separate thumbnail for the video. If you go check out my YouTube channel, not to continuously keep plugging that, you will notice that all of the thumbnails, they never actually appear in the video. That's never an actual scene from the video. I make that separately. I take a separate photo, I then Photoshop it, and I make it look unique. And we'll talk about the things that make it look unique in a second. And I highly recommend doing that because if you rely solely on just taking a quick second screen grab from the video or just scrolling it in place to find the video thumbnail, it is never going to look good. You're going to get people with their eyes open or half open or doing a weird wink, or you're going to get blurry shots or weird poses or just awkward looking thumbnails. So I highly recommend whenever you're filming your video, take a second, take a photo, and then have that photo separate to the video to make the thumbnail. And make sure you include your video title or alternate titles on your thumbnail. It helps attract more viewers because as you're scrolling through your YouTube feed, you will see the thumbnail before you see the title or vice versa. So it's good to ensure that you have it all covered, that you have the title on the video or the title or an alternate title on that video, just something catchy that again draws that audience in. You can use the same rules that we already discussed in the title for your alternate title on the video. Your image formats for your thumbnail should be in JPEG, PNG, a GIF, BMP, or a TIFF, and all of those are totally acceptable. However, I highly recommend just sticking with a good old-fashioned JPEG. That way it is reliable across all platforms. You can take your thumbnail and post it on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook as well. Use the aspect ratio of 16.9 because that works best for YouTube players, and make sure you keep a consistent look across all of your videos. Later we're going to talk about which YouTubers to follow, and there's one we'll talk about who really does a great job of making sure all of her thumbnails look consistent and look really great together. But I want to remind you to pay attention to the styles and the trends that are happening on YouTube and the YouTube thumbnails. We're going to talk about some real trend followers when we get to the inspiration part of this video, but there are things that happen in the YouTube world that change and alter, and if your video is stuck on an old trend, people are less likely to click on it because they're going to think it's of lesser quality than the new ones that have the new fancy trend. So just something to keep in mind when creating your YouTube thumbnail. All right, next we're going to move on to your description. So we're basically working from the top to the bottom here. We have your title, we have your thumbnail. Now let's talk about the description. The most important part of your description for your video is that it needs to be quick, simple, and it can't give away the actual content that is in the video. For example, if you are doing a cooking video, do not write out the full cooking step-by-step guide with the recipe, the measurements, all of that in the description. Don't do that. They have no reason to watch the video then. Make sure that if you do promise things in the video, like the exact measurements to certain items, you do put that in the description. I'm just saying don't give away all the milk before they've even looked at the cow. So just make sure that it is quick and simple and it does not give away your content that is featured in the video. The second most important thing is you need a CTA, and a CTA, a call to action, could be in the form of a question. Comment below your favorite part of the video. Comment below your favorite recipe. Comment below your favorite color. Comment below. And make sure you include all of the links to follow you for more content. If you have a podcast, if you have a website, if you have a blog, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. Make sure you link it and make sure it is super easy to find you on all those platforms. Do not make it complicated for people. Have it all out there. And here's the thing. Even if you have a piece of content or a piece of merch or something that seems really old and irrelevant now, but you still have and you still sell, link it there too, because you never know when people are just going to get a little bit interested in your past work and they want to see some more. So even if you think it's not a bestseller right now, it's not something people are really interested in, you never know, and it costs you nothing to do that extra link. Now, if you're curious for a style of description, I recommend, we're going to talk about inspiration and inspirational YouTubers later, but find one you really like, find a style you like in their description because every YouTuber does it differently, and then just mimic it in your own and kind of customize it for your own brand. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take another break from the podcast, but when we come back, we have even more helpful steps and tips on how you can create content for YouTube. So stay tuned for more of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It is Monday, and Monday means the week has started, the birds are chirping, and you are getting back to work. But work does look a little bit different now, especially for a lot of us who have realized that we might be working remote permanently for a while. Even when things start to get back to normal, an office life is just not on the horizon for some of us. And hey, that is okay. That is not the worst thing in the world. Absolutely not. In fact, I can think of one bonus that's a little bit nice of not having your boss watch you all the time. You have more time to listen to podcasts. That's right. I'm going to go ahead and give her a nice little plug here. Go check out more of the GSMC Podcast Network's podcasts. We have podcasts on simply everything: wrestling, sports, beauty tips. Guys, the Beauty Tips podcast lately has been exceptional. It has been so incredibly helpful and resourceful and fun to listen to. So if you're interested in beauty and makeup, highly recommend going and checking out our new host. I think she is doing a fantastic job. She is teaching me things I never thought of, and I'm 24 years old and just learning these makeup tips now. So very helpful, very informative. But really, the point of all this, the point of me telling you this, really is just to insist to all of you about how wonderful and creative and generous and kind and, just terrific hosts we have on this podcast. I've gotten the chance to know so many of them personally, and they all care so much about creating great and amazing content for the listeners, and I feel the same way. I hope you guys love the content. I hope you love the episodes, and I hope you continue to love the episodes and continue to engage with us and entertain with us, because we love you and we just hope you love us back. And if you do, maybe do us the absolute wonderful favor of reviewing the podcast, leaving a nice comment, or just giving us some helpful feedback. We can take it. Don't worry, we're all adults here. But let's jump back into today's podcast, where we are talking about how you can create content for your YouTube channel, or how you can start a YouTube channel. We've been working from the top to the bottom. So we covered your title and how it needs to be catchy and simple and clickbaity without being clickbait. And then we talked about your thumbnail and how it has to be vibrant and eye-catching and up with the trends, but it needs to stay on the same road and on the same theming as your branding. Then we talked about your description and how important it is to have a CTA, a call to action, and to make it quick and simple and not to give away any of the content that is in the video that could prevent someone from just watching the video. And finally, we talked about how you have to include links to all of your content so that people know where to find you outside of the video. Now that we are back, let's talk about a little bit more of everything that goes on around the actual video itself. And again, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, hey, when is she going to teach me how to actually record a video? Like, I don't know how to work a camera. Do I need a camera? Can I use my phone? Can I use my boyfriend's phone? He has an iPhone 11. Maybe that's better. First of all, an iPhone 11 is an excellent camera. If you have an opportunity to use an iPhone 11 camera, use it. It's fantastic, the quality on that thing. But secondly, I do want to insist that although I can mention it, I can sum it up for you guys on this podcast. Listen to the end to get that quick summary. Definitely go check out the full-length podcast episode I did where I taught you how to create a video, high-quality videos with your phone and with your camera while in the comfort of your own home. So go listen to that episode, but stay till the end of this episode to get a quick, brief summary. For now, let's talk about timing. How long should your video be? This is a question I get asked a lot, and the truth is that YouTube is great because it is the last social media platform that requires the viewer to have a lot of attention towards it, right? Like there are videos that are hours long on YouTube, or there are videos that are very short as well. Either way, they are requesting that the viewer actually pays attention, which is really funny because the platforms for TikTok and how Instagram is going and Snapchat, it's all quick, it's all fast, it's all moving, and it's all happening. And YouTube in a lot of ways has had to develop a new way to deal with that. Vlogging is a great example because a lot of things happen, but it's a long video. So it's a 20-minute video where 100 different activities happen. A whole bunch of different snapshots of someone's life spread out over 20 minutes can seem a lot more appealing than a 20-minute long video where she only shows you one thing in that vlog. So YouTube has absolutely had to adapt to the new platform, but it is one of the last platforms that actually allows you to have a pretty substantial amount of content that requires the audience to actually pay full attention to. So the only guidelines I want to give you on this, because that is what makes it so great, is to keep your videos under 5 minutes, but over 1 minute. If it's under 1 minute, there's not enough there for anyone to really attach to or care to watch. And if it's over 5 minutes, that is when you're going to get people who don't want to watch it because they don't want to spend the time to watch it, even though they might spend the next 15 minutes watching 3 different 5-minute videos. They don't want to give their time to one 15-minute long video. So stay between that 5 minutes and 1 minute sort of room area there, and you should be good to go. Most importantly, remember when it comes to timing, quality is better than quantity. If you have a really great, solid 2-minute video, then don't try to push it into a 5-minute video just for the sake of timing. Definitely go with the video that has the most amount of content that is actually useful to your audience. And finally, make sure you make it fun and engaging. And like I said, YouTube has had to develop new ways to deal with the ever-changing platforms around them. So make sure that you're not just standing in one place for the entire video. Have things happen, have things pop up, have things move, explore different areas, explore different ideas within the time of one video. And this could just mean doing a various amounts of different shots rather than just one long shot of the same thing. Finally, I want you to focus on your branding. Branding is very, very important when it comes to your videos because chances are you're not just listening to this because you want to become a YouTube sensation, but even if you are, branding is very, very important because it's who you are. It's how you can move into different areas. Your branding should look the same on your YouTube channel as it does on Instagram, on your blog, on your website, on your Twitter, and on your Facebook. And if someone meets you, you need to make sure that you match your brand. Your brand is who you are, so it's very important that you stick with it. So make sure you find what works for you and work it hard. If your brand is comedy, then be funny. If your brand is cooking, then cook. If your brand is how short you are, then constantly talk about how short you are. Find your brand and work it hard. Now, your branding doesn't mean that you only post one of those videos. Like I said, if you're a cook, make sure you cook. Sure, so make sure you do a cooking video every week. But that doesn't mean you always have to do the same type of cooking video or you always have to be cooking the same thing the same way. Make sure the best way to really ensure that your branding is consistent is to just have a constant theme and colors throughout all of your videos. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll quickly cover some inspirational YouTubers that I think would be super helpful for you to follow. But let's talk about when you should actually post this video. Consistency is key. There's a story about David Dobrik, who's a very famous YouTuber. He was invited to like a Blue Jays game, but he couldn't go because it was a posting day. So he had to stay at home and edit his video and post it. Because consistency is the most important thing when it comes to a YouTube channel. Consistency is the most important thing when it comes to anything to do with marketing. You know that. I talk about that all the time. If you're new to this podcast, hello, be consistent with your marketing. If you post on a Tuesday, then always post on a Tuesday. And if you can't, obviously life happens, things happen, then just make sure you alert your audience when you're not going to post so that they get the heads up. It just shows that little extra bit of care and attention when it comes to your audience and to your relationship with them. Finally, let's just quickly talk about some inspirational YouTubers that I think you should follow and why. Number 1, Alicia Marie for the branding. This girl has her branding and professionalism when it comes to her branding down pat. Every video has a style that is the same, even though every video is on a different subject. Number 2, Colleen Ballinger. Consistency with her. She made a promise that she was going to vlog every single day of quarantine, and she has. Every single day a new vlog has come up. Number 3, Binging with Babish. A really great example of knowing who your audience is, what they want, and how they want it. Number 4, Liza Koshy, very good at keeping an idea engaging and a fun way to really just mix things up using one camera. She uses various angles just to do one shot. Yes, it's a lot of work, but watch her videos. It is absolutely worth it. She makes going to the supermarket look like fun. Finally, number 5, Lore DIY. I feel like by her name you probably know what she does, but she is always really keeping her videos under 5 minutes. Her titles and her thumbnails always tell you exactly what the video is about without giving it away. Same with her description. She doesn't tell you how to DIY the outfit or the project in the description, but she does give you helpful hints that want to make you watch the video more. Here is our quick summary on how you can film videos on your own. One more time, I would like just to recommend that you do, listen to the full episode. That way you can just get a little bit more comfortable with some of these concepts. But basically, the most important thing you are going to need is a tripod. Go listen to the last episode of the podcast from Friday, where I recommended a few different tripods you can buy on Amazon. They're like $5 and it's absolutely worth it. And the reason I think you need a tripod is because I'd rather you spend $10 on a tripod to hold your phone steady rather than like $100 or $500 on a new camera and then $50 on a camera tripod. And you're going to end up with a similar quality video, I will not lie. So get a phone tripod. This way you can set it anywhere. I have one that has legs that bend and move so that I can put it onto any surface. Again, I talked about it in the last podcast. You can go watch it over there. This is just going to ensure that you can get the angles you want. It's really easy to maneuver and move around, and it is going to hold your camera steady and make it look a little bit more professional than holding it like a vlog or like a selfie. Second, the most important thing is lighting. Lighting can totally change a video, making it look way more professional. Make sure you use a lot of natural light and make sure the light is hitting your face rather than hitting your back so that you don't get a shadow. Finally, audio. You can buy microphones that attach to your phone very easily, but if you can't afford those, just make sure the microphone on the camera is not covered up on your phone when you are recording. Again, I recommend go listen to the full episode of that podcast because I give lots more helpful hints than I just gave you, and we really do help you get more comfortable with the camera and being in front of the camera. Okay, everyone, that is it for tonight's episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I will be right back.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app, and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.